December 24th, 2019. 9 p.m. Families across South London were winding down for Christmas, wrapping gifts, lighting candles, settling in for a peaceful night. But on a quiet street in Battersea, a scene of horror was about to unfold. As Flamur Beqiri walked toward his front door with his wife and young child, a man emerged from the shadows. He was dressed like a council street cleaner, wearing a latex mask, gloves, and a high-visibility vest. In a flash, the man raised a gun and fired 10 shots. 8 bullets struck Beqiri in the back as his family watched in terror. This was no robbery. This wasn't random. This was a professional hit, an international assassination carried out with military-like precision, and one critical mistake that would unravel the entire plot. Studio microphone narrator. To most, Flamur Beqiri appeared to be a successful businessman, a devoted husband, father of 2, and a respected music executive. From his £1.5 million townhouse in Battersea, his life looked polished: luxury cars, designer suits, Instagram smiles. His sister was even a star on The Real Housewives of Cheshire. To the outside world, Beqiri was the image of success. But behind the scenes, the truth was far darker. Born in Albania and raised in Sweden, Beqiri had long been on the radar of Scandinavian law enforcement. Though he publicly worked as a music producer, authorities believed he was a major player in Europe's criminal underworld. He was suspected of drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and large-scale money laundering. In 2018, Swedish authorities named him one of the country's most wanted men. He was linked to a sophisticated smuggling ring responsible for moving millions of pounds worth of drugs, alcohol, and contraband into Northern Europe. Though some charges were later dropped, Beqiri was convicted of handling smuggled goods and received a suspended sentence. Still, it wasn't just the crimes that made him a marked man, it was the company he kept. Beqiri was closely associated with Daniel Petrovski, a high-ranking figure in a powerful Albanian-Swedish crime network. His inner circle included Najef Adawi, a convicted armed robber known for his role in one of Sweden's biggest cash heists, £7 million stolen from a security firm in 2010. Together, they formed part of a sprawling criminal network with rivals and enemies. On the other side of this turf war was a Danish-based gang led by Flamur Beqiri. The rivalry between Petrovski's and Beqiri's groups wasn't just business, it was personal, and it was brutal. In 2019, Najef Adawi's partner, Caroline Hakim, was gunned down in Malmo while holding their infant child. The hit sent shockwaves across Europe's underworld. The message? No one was untouchable. Just months later, Flamur Beqiri's name was added to the list. The man chosen to carry out the hit on Beqiri was an unlikely figure, Anis Hemsi, a 24-year-old professional kickboxer from Sweden. No criminal record, no surveillance history, no red flags. On paper, he was just a clean-cut athlete. In reality, he had been carefully recruited to carry out a high-profile assassination on UK soil. Flying into London under the cover of Christmas tourism, Hemsi blended in easily. His disguise was simple, yet brilliant: a street cleaner. He wore a latex mask, sunglasses, a black beanie, gloves, high-visibility gear, and even carried a litter picker. For days, he scouted the Battersea area around Beqiri's home. CCTV would later capture him walking the neighborhood. One resident even confronted him, asking why he was sweeping both private and public roads. Hemsi simply walked away, unbothered, focused. He wasn't working alone. Behind Hemsi stood a web of accomplices operating across borders. In Sweden, Tobias Andersson and Boa Karaja were believed to be coordinating logistics. In London, Clifford Rolox and Claude Isaac provided support on the ground, helping Hemsi with equipment and covering his tracks. Estevan Pino Munizaga, another Swedish national, rented a riverside flat at Oyster Wharf, a safe house just minutes from Beqiri's home. The plan was precise: kill the target on Christmas Eve, flee by bicycle, disappear across Europe before dawn. But in a city like London, every step is watched. December 24th, 2019, 9 p.m. Flamur Beqiri returned home with his wife and young child after a family celebration. As they approached their front door on Battersea Church Road, a figure stepped forward. Dressed in high-visibility clothing and wearing a mask, Hemsey opened fire without a word. 10 rounds. 8 struck Beqiri in the back. He collapsed on the pavement as his wife screamed, and their child stood frozen in horror. Hemsey fled the scene on a green lady's bicycle, chosen to blend in with traffic yet unusual enough to be traceable. He rode to the safe house at Oyster Wharf, discarded his disguise, and within hours boarded a flight from Heathrow to Copenhagen, using his real name. The city was still asleep, but the clock on justice had already started ticking. The Metropolitan Police launched a full-scale investigation within hours. Robbery was ruled out almost immediately. This was calculated, professional, a hit. London, one of the most surveilled cities in the world, became the investigation's greatest asset. CCTV revealed a man disguised as a street cleaner patrolling the area days before the murder. The trail led detectives to Oyster Wharf. Inside the flat rented by Esteban Munizaga, investigators found a trove of evidence. Gunshot residue on the bicycle, the high-vis jacket, gloves, litter picker, food and drink wrappers containing Hemsey's DNA, and most crucially, a ripped boarding pass with Hemsey's name still visible. Mobile phone analysis showed Hemsey's data usage spiked when he was inside the flat and dropped when he left, aligning perfectly with the murder timeline. The net was closing. With support from Swedish and Danish authorities, investigators confirmed Hemsey's travel patterns. He flew into London days before the murder and fled just hours after, traveling under his real name. After a trip to Thailand, Hemsey returned to Sweden, where he was arrested and eventually extradited to the UK. Police also charged Esteban Munizaga, Clifford Rolox, and Claude Isaac. All had knowingly assisted the operation. Meanwhile, Swedish nationals Tobias Andersson and Boa Karaja, suspected of coordinating the logistics, were also brought to trial. It was a cross-border conspiracy, but London's surveillance, forensic expertise, and coordination with European agencies brought it all to light. In early 2022, over 2 years after the murder, the trial of Anis Hemsey began. He was no longer just an athlete. He was the accused, a hitman in a violent gang feud. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence. Surveillance placing him at the scene. DNA inside the safe house. Gunpowder on the bicycle. The ripped boarding pass. Mobile data tracking his activity. And witnesses who recalled the suspicious cleaner. The prosecution argued Hemsey was a contract killer, working for a syndicate tied to Danish gang leader Flamur Beqiri, retaliating against Beqiri's links to Petrovsky and Adai. The defense claimed Hemsey was manipulated, pulled into something far bigger than himself. They emphasized his clean record, athletic career, and claimed he was a pawn. But the jury was not convinced. In February 2022, Hemsey was found guilty of the murder of Flamur Beqiri. The judge called it a cold, calculated execution and sentenced him to life in prison, with a minimum of 35 years before parole. Other conspirators also faced justice. Esteban Munizaga, who rented the flat, received 15 years. Clifford Rolox and Claude Isaac, who helped Hemsey in London, were sentenced to 3 years each. But Tobias Andersson and Boa Karaja, believed to be orchestrators, were acquitted. Still, for many, the question remains, was this truly justice? Or is the real mastermind still out there, planning the next move in a silent war playing out across Europe? The murder of Flamur Beqiri wasn't just a tragedy for one family. It was a chilling reminder of how far-reaching organized crime can be. Even on the quietest streets, in the most peaceful moments, shadows can be lurking. This is a story of deception, power, and a single mistake that brought an entire conspiracy crashing down. If this story shocked you, subscribe for more real-life crime cases that shake the very foundations of what we think we know. And let us know in the comments, speech balloon, was justice truly served? Or is the real puppet master still pulling strings?